Hi and welcome. My name is Jackson Mumey, and I'm recording today as results have come in from most jurisdictions around the country. And so I'm talking to a lot of people who have taken the bar and not passed. To be clear, not necessarily our students. In fact, most of our students passed and by quite big margins over the state averages. But this is the time when people find out if they've passed or failed, and for those who failed, it's a tough time. And I want to talk about a specific strategy in this video that I think can help those of you who are retakers or bar repeaters. The technique is called an mindset intervention, and it's really an offshoot of some work that's being done at Stanford by Professor Carol Dweck, who I've mentioned in some other videos that I've done in her work on mindsets. Professor Dweck and her research team are really groundbreakers in terms of figuring out how people's mindsets really affect what they do and how they do it. And in the bar, we're finding amazing results when we can break people's mindsets or change them from an attitude of fear and failure and discouragement. And I think a lot of the things that get pushed into you in law school maybe get pushed into you in the big bar reviews. Those of you that think that the mindset you need for the bar exam is you have to know everything and you have to memorize it, and then you discover after having done that it didn't work. That's pretty devastating. So what I want to explain to you is a technique that we're using with our students that we're seeing tremendous results with, and it's actually pretty simple. You probably recall when you first went to college, your first semester of undergraduate school, or maybe even your first semester of law school, how intimidating and frightening that whole process was. And perhaps you were fortunate enough to have a mentor, someone that was a little bit further along in the process, and they kind of swooped in and said, hey, here's what you need to know about. Here's what really matters. Here's where to eat. Here's where not to eat. Here's where to go in the library back in the days when we had libraries. Here are the important things. Avoid this professor, go to this one, and so on. That was really kind of an intervention that was designed to mentor and help people through and go along. And perhaps you were one of those people that as you got to your junior and senior year of undergraduate school, or your 3L year or 4L in law school, you became a mentor to younger students. Well, in the bar review, we think the same thing can work, but it's actually more effective to do this intervention without anyone else involved. So here's what we want you to do. Sometime in the next day or two, take 30 minutes and set it aside. During that 30-minute period, either do a video, which is very easy these days, obviously, or write a memo, a letter, from yourself as a member of the bar. So, from Jackson Mumey, member of X bar, to a repeat bar taker of that same jurisdiction. Now, what you want to write in this memo or record in this video, and it should be a very short one, would be the advice that now that you've passed the bar, you want to give to someone who's in a position of having to retake the bar. Now, what that does is it requires you to actually start thinking like someone who's passed the exam. But as someone who's passed the exam, what would you tell that younger version of yourself, or someone who is still in the process of repeating their studies, that they need to know in order to pass? What we found when we give this assignment to our students is that it changes, it intervenes in the mindset. It breaks it up. Even that half-hour intervention seems to make a huge difference in the way that the student then begins to perceive themselves, perceive the process, and react to it. Now, I don't want you to share that intervention mindset, the video or the letter, with another person. Not at all. It's only for your eyes. And I want you to look at it as often as necessary. Oftentimes I suggest to students that they look at it every day in the morning before they start their day. It's a short piece, it's an easy thing to look at or to read, and it's the advice that they really need to hear. There seems to be something about the way the brain's wired that if we can change the way that you perceive yourself, even if it's for 30 minutes to write that letter, that's enough to change the firing of the neurons in a way that gives you a different approach and outlook. Now, I know that some of you are, undoubtedly, if you're still with me, are saying, oh, bull, what I need to do is learn more elements, find more rules, spot more issues, memorize more stuff. Yeah, and that's why you're repeating the bar. Now, if you never did any study, I think you got to do enough to learn the basics for sure. But I'm assuming that most of you who are watching a video like this did all those things and still didn't pass. So now what we're talking about is what's keeping you from passing. And most likely the thing that's keeping you from passing is that you have some mindset, some internal beliefs about the process that simply make it hard to get from point A to point B. Here's the example I use with a lot of my students. I tell them to imagine the bar as playing the game of hit the piñata, when you're blindfolded and you've got the stick and you're, doing that. A lot of people do that with the bar exam, and they do it really hard. They swing that stick as hard as they can. I mean, they really wail. The problem is the piñata's in another room. Their mindset, their approach, totally misses what they have to be doing on the bar exam. So instead of that blind, flailing away, what the mindset intervention does is it actually says, hey, by the way, Jackson, the piñata's down the hall in that other room, and so let's walk down to that room, and then we'll take the blindfold off, and we'll point out the piñata to you, and we'll say, can you now go hit the piñata? And you'll go, oh, yeah, sure. Now I hit it, okay? It's actually just that simple. And so if you're thinking that what you really need to do to pass the bar is to learn more stuff, another outline, another mnemonic, another, I don't know, whatever junk is out there, you're in for a really, really hard time and a rude awakening. It just doesn't happen that way. So this is an intervention. The great part about this intervention is there are no other people in attendance, no one else to see, no one else to embarrass you, nothing else to happen. It's between you and you. And if you'll try that approach, if you'll do that 30-minute exercise, and then follow up on it as you study for the bar, I think you'll see tremendous differences in the way you think and approach and study. And I'd love to hear about them, and if you feel so inclined to share your results, we'd love to know that as well. I hope this is helpful to you. If you'd like to know more about our approach to bar review and studies, don't hesitate to contact us. Be glad to offer you a free consultation as part of an introduction to what we do have to offer. And I wish you, as always, the best on your bar exam results. Thanks for watching.